Hey everyone. I know you've been anxiously awaiting our next installment. We finished box 3 yesterday. So I wanted to go over what came in the box, some new information that we received, and then I wanted to go over the timeline of events so we can kind of like see the bigger picture of what's going on, as well as, I wanted to share with you guys some things I wasted my time on. Some rabbit holes that probably are not relevant and do not, will not be included in the case. But I did it. So, first things first, we get our letter from Julia. She's still sad because, she's got to come up with some money to save the theater. I thought it was interesting that in the third paragraph, she talked about how Joe would hide trinkets for her father around the theater for him to find. And also he did scavenger hunts for him. So I think it would be very fun if, like, on the final box, it's like time to find the money. And so Joe has left us like some kind of scavenger hunt to solve around the theater. That would be fun. And then it says Joe is a word that we can trust. And we already kind of knew that his timelines and what he says is, the most accurate and what we should base all other things on. Then there was, in the online file, there was a letter from Olga. It was dated December 20th? Yeah, 1933, to Ira Adler, basically saying, hey, dude, I see how you're looking at my daughter. Back up. She doesn't need you. She doesn't need Hector. She's got me. Let's not ruin her life, please. Please step away from my daughter. So we're like, okay, something's going on between Viola and Ira. And that was confirmed in these stage notes. We learn a couple things in the stage notes. First, we learn, here it says, Evelyn says, between you and me, we have been seeing each other for a little while now. He says he's over the moon for me, but he wants to keep it on the sly for now. Apparently, he just got out of a fling, and plus we work together and all. So, these stage notes are somewhere around the 20th of February, where Evelyn is basically saying, hey, speaking of guys, Viola, what do you think of Ira? Because I think I'm really into him. And this, of course, makes Viola really upset because, she was in love with him too, but he's realized that he's moved on to Evelyn. The other important thing we learn is that Viola is spending all of her paychecks and putting all of her paper dollars into gyms. So, we know that we don't know, but most likely, if there is a scavenger hunt, it will be looking for Viola's jewelry, since she's putting all of her money that she's making being a famous actress into jewelry. So, we will keep an eye out for that. Then we learn that Viola, this is dated February 22nd. This is to Hector. Viola's basically saying, look, this totally worked until I fell in love. But once I fell in love, I realized I didn't want to be in a sham wedding that's just meant for publicity. I lost the love of my life. He's already moved on to someone else. She doesn't mention Evelyn specifically, but we can conclude that that's what she's talking about. She's like, hey, we'll always be friends, but by the way, will you help me tell my mom? Because she's going to be really, really pissed off about that. So we really get the impression that Hector and Viola's breakup was pretty amicable. In another article that we got online, we saw that Hector's somewhat of a playboy. He's hanging out in Greenwich Village with a bunch of really good-looking guys. More kind of leading us to believe that he's probably gay. And so, not only did he want a sham marriage, probably because it was hard to be a homosexual at the time, but also for the publicity. So, but they're still good friends. Hector probably didn't do it. Then we have a poster from, this is for their upcoming play. There's a couple things. I don't think we know what's going on yet. On the back, Samson did another code. That code says, you check on V, she all right? Then also down here, Ira, has V really signed the contract on this? I thought she wasn't even thinking about her next role after Duo. And then he says, G's getting ahead of himself again, right? The only thing interesting about this is we do know in this article here that Ira was planning on casting Evelyn. He really wanted to write something just for her. So this seems more like something George really wanted for Viola to be cast, or the starring role in this, and maybe not so much Ira. We have more George kind of getting all involved in the production, making decisions, when Ira is really the director and he should be the one making the decisions, not necessarily the producer. So we'll see how that kind of, there's been clues about how, George is really overstepping. Maybe this will be the motivation for Ira to buy the theater, which we know that he does, shortly after Viola disappears. Now, let's move on to what we were asked to do this time was to eliminate another suspect. And the only person with the information that we were given that we could eliminate was Ruth Erickson. And in her little purse, we found her ticket with some notes on the back. We have a train program, train schedule, and when she got to where she was going. We have an Eastern Union postcard. I thought this was so cute because it's not Western Union, it's Eastern Union. Love that. All right, so first things first, how we eliminated her is, we know that she took this train and she had to get in order to do the Eastern Union by 9:51. We also know in an article in Sunday's paper, the same paper that was found in the trunk where Viola's body was that Penn Station closes at 5:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. November 6th, when Viola was murdered, was a Tuesday. So she couldn't make the 6:20 flight. She would have to make the 5:20, not flight, train. She'd have to make the 5:20 train in order to get her to Tannersville, Pennsylvania in time to write the Eastern Union Telegraph. A couple of problems that I have with that. In the article, it does say, hey, these times we won't be doing any more outgoing train rides from Penn Station. Do put extra time in to get to the Syracuse station. We did a quick Google Maps search. By car, it's 20 minutes away. So it's probably nothing, but technically I just don't think that this is a very good alibi, because Ruth could have grabbed a cab to Syracuse and still got on to that, She could have gotten on at 6:33 if she got a cab to the Syracuse train, and that would put her in time to write the Western Union Telegraph at 9:51. Let's move on to probably the most, interesting evidence that we have from this week. The back of the ticket is dated November 6th. It says, call ahead to have nursery prepared. I'm guessing she's calling ahead to her servants in her little country estate in Tannersville. It says, drop off gift for George. This really confuses me. The reason why this confuses me is she was last seen at the theater talking to George. So, and that's before she bought this train ticket. So she was talking to George. Why wouldn't she just give George the gift when she was talking to him? So where did she drop off the gift for George? I don't think we really know yet what that means. And then she has stop at Tannersville General Store. She probably stopped there to send the Eastern Union Telegraph. And then we have a little code, and it says call Lawrence. 9:51 in Tannersville, Pennsylvania. We have George. Arrived safely with baby Jay. Left gift on desk. Please wear with brown church suit. Call as soon as able. All my love, Ruth. So, obviously, baby Jay, what does that mean? We do know that Julia's father, was born in 1934. Is that the J, baby J? That's why does Ruth have a baby J? Again, left gift on desk. What desk? Is it the desk that Ira was using to talk to the Elixir Hotel the whole time up till 6:10? Then why would she leave it on that desk? She's talking about the desk maybe at their Manhattan apartment, perhaps. But it's something that you wear with a brown church suit. So I think we are supposed to assume it is the cufflink. So this is probably George's cufflink. And that is probably the gift. But who knows? The only interesting thing, also back to this call Lawrence. In one of the articles, we also learned that there's a Lawrence Kelly that is a high-powered divorce attorney. We're probably to assume that she's thinking about maybe divorcing George. It doesn't have a check next to it, so she didn't do that. So that is a Lawrence, but thought it was interesting. This probably means nothing, but another Lawrence is Lawrence Morello, Vice President of Eastern Union. I did a quick YouTube search, and it turns out there was a Morello crime family that was active kind of around that time, 1890 to 1931. They were most known for counterfeiting $5 bills and extortion. Could this be a Lawrence? Because we do know that with the Ericksons, there is some type of mob ties. We have union dues. We have another article here where there was a movie made about extortion and mobs and all sort of stuff. So it's interesting that it has a last name, but this crime family, it says, was only active in Manhattan from 1890 to 1931. I don't know. Probably nothing, but, it does leave a possibility, there could be a possibility that she wasn't talking about the divorce attorney. Maybe she wanted to get some help from the mob, maybe, for helping them get out of or covering up a murder. But the story does we did eliminate Ruth. We were right. Ruth can't be the murderer, according to the story. But I don't know. Technically, she could have taken a cab and gotten to the Tannersville general store in time. It's possible. Possibly Lawrence is really, she's calling her friends to help her with a crime. But probably not. It's probably just we are just to assume that she didn't do it and that Lawrence is the divorce attorney. The other thing I did for you guys, I went ahead and made a timeline of events. So we have August 17th, 1933. Hector writes a letter to Olga. He's so happy about the engagement to, Viola, because, this is the sham marriage that he really wanted and needed. And November 24th, Viola's letter to Evelyn. But now it's possible that it wasn't Evelyn. It could definitely just be to Ira, because we did learn that they were starting to have an affair or a fling, or they were having one. And again, just Ruth is pregnant, so there are two babies. December 20th, that's when Olga writes her letter to Ira, basically saying, stay away from my daughter, you're going to ruin her life. If we work back time, somewhere between December and January, Viola conceives. And so she's conceiving her baby with Ira around this time. So Ira is, the grandfather for sure. I just think we believe that Viola is going to actually turn out to be the mother. February 20th, the lockbox is delivered, and Samson said, let me know if you need help hiding this from him. Sometime around February 20th to the 22nd, there's rehearsal notes between Evelyn and Viola, where Viola learns that Ira has moved on to Evelyn, is infatuated with her instead, and obviously this breaks Viola's heart. February 22nd, she writes the breakup letter to Hector. February 25th, the newspaper published the breakup, and then there was also the Dear Deborah letter from Ruth. Ruth still, new mother, bored, etc. Currently, we don't have anything that goes on until May 4th. That's when Evelyn replaces Viola. So that would put Viola approximately 5 months pregnant, which kind of checks out. Most women start showing in their pregnancy between the 4th and the 6th month. They start getting their baby bump. So that checks out. June is the Nothing Strange article. This article where it just talks about how awesome Evelyn's doing, taking over for Viola, and how, it just shows that Ira's, clearly falling in love with her, or already has been, I guess. And it's just obvious to everybody. And he wants, Evelyn for the new show. We know from the precinct report that sometime in September, Olga said that Viola and her reconcile after taking a 4-month break where she didn't hear from her. So obviously that was when she was having the baby. September 2nd, Ruth writes a letter to Adler saying, do not cast Viola. She sucks. She's a slut. Get her out of here. As a new mother, we can't have these kind of examples. So, I don't know. I guess Ruth's baby, maybe like 1 or 2 months. I'm not sure. October 7th, that's when in George Erickson's ledger, he wrote, everything's going to be okay now that you're coming back. We assumed he was talking about Viola or maybe Olga. And October 10th, Viola does come back and she signs the contract. October 12th, there's the finalized posters. These are the posters. I mean, they're ready to go, and he paid for the finalized posters. that happened only 2 days after she actually came back. So maybe he was kind of jumping the gun and assuming that she would come back. But we know that this poster was printed October 12th. October 12th, we have gifts for $30. October 31st, we have the wrap-up to Duo Party. So they're no longer showing Duo, and now they've moved on to You Can Leave It Right Here. November 4th, we have gifts for $50. Before we said that the gifts continued after Viola's disappearance, but that turns out to not be correct. They stopped November 4th, and she disappeared on November 6th. So we were wrong there, and who knows what the gifts could be for. I still think probably for Olga, or maybe just like staff gifts because he's writing it in the ledger. November 7th is the precinct report, the missing persons report. November 9th, Olga gets a PI. George might pay. Also, I noticed it says on November 9th that he paid for the loading dock repair. So the loading dock was broken. I don't know if that matters or not. November 15th, he's thinking, oh man, I really should sell this theater. Who would buy it? Maybe Ira? November 16th, on George's ledger, it just says Olga. And then finally, December 25th, it's Hector's letter to Ira where he says, sending you the money for your responsibilities. Again, the responsibilities could maybe be for buying the theater, or the responsibilities could be for his, at this point, born son, Julian. Baby J, maybe? So that's kind of where we are with the case. A couple things that I wasted some time on. So we know that the night of Viola's disappearance, that Evelyn and Ira both had dinner plans with each other. We also find out it's from the Elixir Hotel. I did do a Google search. So 39th and Broadway is where the theater is. And it's just a 10-minute drive to get to the Elixir Hotel. But that didn't matter because the Elixir Hotel wasn't renamed the Elixir Hotel until the 1950s. So that's probably not it. Let's see. Oh, just another thing. Now with this, we can see why Hector had said to Ira in his December 25th letter after Viola's been missing. I know things got strained between you and Viola at the end of Duo. Now we know why it was strained. She was still in love with him, but he had moved on to Evelyn. So I think that pretty much sums up where we are in the case. I was really hoping that this box would be like the really fun box that was gonna like crack it all open, but maybe they're gonna save that for the next box. But that's all the digging I could do. I will see you guys in a couple weeks.